1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. There we go. 1, 2. Hey everybody. How are we doing? Welcome to Politics, Culture and Some Other Shit. Pardon me. The live stream. I haven't done a live stream in a couple of weeks. I just have to race my dinner in the mother as well just to get out here and do this. So, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about Liz Truss. She's a new PM, don't you know? Hard to believe, but it's true. Yeah, it is hard. It is genuinely hard to believe. The woman is an idiot. And if you need to find out more about that, you can go and have a look on a YouTube stream that I did a few months ago. Liz Truss is an idiot, it's called. Yeah, sort of go through it. So we'll go through it. That. Going to talk about the cost of living crisis. Bernie Sanders is in the UK at the minute, or was anyway for a couple of days there. I meant to talk about this in last week's stream, or last week's podcast, but I never got to it. Yeah, and we're going to talk a bit about something that Mrs. Zelensky, the erstwhile First Lady of Ukraine, said to Lord Kuenssberg. Sort of ridiculous. And we're going to cost of living. Yeah, we're going to talk about that sort of stuff. So there we go. Let's get to it. So, alright. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, everybody. And if you want to lend me your support, you can head over to my Patreon. £3 a month. And you get everything. Yeah, it should be fun. Oh, let me just... Oh, yeah, that's okay. I just want to check something here. Yeah, that's okay. Alright, so... Excuse me. As I said, just had to race my dinner in the mother to get out here. So let's do this. Liz Truss is the new Prime Minister. Do you want to hear an excerpt from her acceptance speech? Here we go, check this out.
And I also want to thank our outgoing leader, my friend, Boris Johnson.
That is just a nod to the Johnson loyalists. Boris Johnson is sitting in the background. Apparently, they think that he's just going to sort of shuffle off, be quiet for a while, and a grateful nation is going to come back in a few months and ask him to take the reins again. Again, an indication of the delusion of these fucking ghouls.
Boris, you got Brexit done. You crushed Jeremy Corbyn. You rolled out the vaccine.
Labour Party crushed.
And you stood
Jeremy
up to
Corbyn.
Vladimir Putin. You were admired from Kiev to Carlisle. I campaigned as a Conservative, and I will govern as a Conservative. And my friends, we need to show that we will deliver over the next 2 years. I will deliver a bold plan to cut taxes and grow our economy. I will deliver on the energy crisis, dealing with people's energy bills, but also dealing with the long-term issues we have on energy supply. And I will deliver on the National Health Service.
What does that mean? There's no content there. Demo, hey Demo, how's it going, brother? Good to see you again. Saw a tweet that Truss has been taking speech making lessons from a Speak Your Weight machine. Ah! She's fucking unbelievable, isn't she? She is really unbelievable. I have another video. We're going to go through all this shit. When I was doing my Liz Truss is an idiot video a while back, I was looking for sort of a supercut of all that bullshit that she comes out with. It just illustrates how bad she is. And now, I know the people that voted for Boris Johnson seem to think that he was sort of charismatic. I personally didn't. as I keep saying, you know, a pound of lard rolled in some Labrador hare, a Billy Bunter type eating schoolboy, that doesn't impress me at all. In fact, I hate those cunts. But you know, compared to her, holy shit, unfucking believable. Yeah. Oh yes. Before I go on, I'm still banned off Twitter, and that's why I'm not been posting over there, and I can't figure out how to get unbanned. I haven't done anything that terrible. The algorithm has picked up on. So I said that all Tory voters, people have voted in the hustings for should be put into a cannon and fired into the sun. That's what I said. So I think an algorithm has picked that up and saying I'm probably said it thinks that I've said I should shoot people or something like that, which I didn't say. But so but I'm sort of stuck in digital Twitter hell that I can't move forward. I can't get my case heard, or I can't even get to the bit where it says you want to take this down, which I would do. I don't give a fuck. It's only a stupid joke. I can't even get to that. It's all kind of fucked up. So yeah, so that's where I am. So listen, let's do this. Here's a Liz Truss. I got this video. As I was saying, I got this supercut of Liz Truss, and I downloaded it off YouTube. It's called Liz Truss Being Fully Mental. That's the name of the video on YouTube. Right? So check this out.
I'm here in Kigali for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting.
I am infatuated with British food.
Infatuated.
We will not be caught with no clothes on.
Should good leaders own their mistakes, or should they blame others?
I'm not blaming
You blame the
anybody
media.
else. I'm saying
My mother took me on protest.
Listen to this. Check this. Look at this fucking dick.
I
What is
went
wrong
on
with her
marches.
face?
I made banners.
What is wrong with her
I
face?
stayed at peace camps.
People view studying maths a bit like going to the dentist.
Together we can be a bulwark against authoritarianism and fly the flag for freedom and democracy.
Britain will
Right.
lead
So
the
she's saying
world.
there, fly the flag for freedom and democracy. I'm going to show you what her idea of freedom and democracy is. We can be a bulwark against authoritarianism. Some of her campaign pledges, quite authoritarian, and certainly nothing to do with democracy and freedom. Certainly not for workers, not for you and me, right?
What's the last human rights issue that you raised with a Gulf state leader?
I'd have to come back to the committee on the precise timing of that, but I certainly
anything,
have
just
raised
tell
If you were in a Gulf state and you were talking, and you were the foreign minister, foreign secretary of some country, and you said that you were going to go and bring up the human rights issues of that country, which, by the way, is none of your fucking business, right? Certainly, whenever your government has oversaw the rise of food banks in your own country to the point that there are more food banks than McDonald's, you've got no right to go anywhere else and fucking give off about their human rights, no matter how vile. No matter how vile, right? I don't think. If you were a paragon of purity, absolutely, you've every right to. Whenever you've got the greatest journalist in history currently rotting to death in a Victorian prison in London, not even being charged with a fucking crime, you can't. You just can't. But if you did, you would fucking remember it, right? Not Liz Truss.
Anything that you said on
Well, I
human
certainly
rights.
have raised it when I was in.
Go on, tell us
I'm
one
just
now.
trying to remember my most recent visit.
Just
but I
one,
can
Liz,
assure you
just
I've
one.
raised it,
Anyone,
and
you
I'll
pick
write
it.
to you with the details.
You can't remember a single human rights issue that you've raised with a Gulf state leader.
For me, it wasn't ballet or My Little Pony.
I agree with Paddy Ashdown when he said, everybody in Britain should have the chance to be a somebody. But only one family can provide the head of state. We Liberal Democrats
By the way, in
believe
case you didn't know, she started out life as a Liberal Democrat, and then she jumped ship to the Tory party, assuming whenever the Lib Dems were in one of their frequent slumps. And she's very young there, and she's and in that intervening 30 years, you think she'd have got better at delivering a speech. You know, it is learnable, it is a learnable skill. No, Not this fucking half-wit.
An opportunity for all.
I, conference, rebelled.
We believe in fairness and common sense. We believe in referenda on major constitutional issues. We do not believe that people should be born to rule, or that they should put up and shut up about decisions that affect their everyday lives. Do you, conference, believe that?
The ozone layer is now getting better.
We didn't have a lot of focus on spelling in my school. I was at school in the 1980s.
OK, Ms Truss, what's 9 times 8?
9 times 8 is 72, but I'm not going to answer any more of these questions. And we didn't have things like a spelling test. We didn't have
Hasn't done
tests
you
at the
any
end of
harm, has it? I
primary
mean, you've
school.
done very well, despite the fact you couldn't spell.
We asked them their opinion of the monarchy. Do you know what they
What's
said?
that?
They said, abolish them. We've had enough.
Do you spell illiterate, Elizabeth Truss?
Well, this isn't about trying to test people.
Oh, have a go. Go on. Come on,
well,
your education
I don't
minister,
think
you
it's
knew
right.
this was coming. Try and
countless-
spell it.
We met another group of people and another group of people, and all three groups of people said, abolish the monarchy.
What is wrong
do you
with
know how to
you,
spell
you
illiterate?
fucking
Well,
tit?
as I've said, I'm not going to answer the question.
We couldn't find a single monarchist outside the royal pavilion. How ironic.
We have organisations like Sainsbury's with an army of coders.
Would you remove the whip from Boris Johnson if he's found to have deliberately misled Parliament over Partygate?
I'm not making any prejudgments about that.
Why not?
Well, I'm not making prejudgments. I'll see what the committee says.
But if they say deliberately misled Parliament?
As I say, I'm not making any prejudgments.
I called 111 fairly recently. Actually, it was not fairly. It was just before COVID.
In December, I'll be in Beijing, opening up new pork markets.
What is
Do you
wrong
take
with
any
this woman?
responsibility for the lack of growth when you were a Treasury Minister?
When I was a Treasury Minister, I was in charge of public spending. I controlled public spending effectively.
The system we have at the moment.
People of England,
which
you're
is
not sending us your best,
Soviet-style
I'm afraid.
top-down housing targets.
There was once a time when our country was in decline.
I'm really worried about how I'm going to keep my children warm and fed. This is going to cost lives if they don't do something now.
But this is why it's so very important that we offer support to businesses, that we...
It's not going to help her.
I've learned in particular how to shear a sheep.
I'm here in Kigali for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting.
I am
Sorry,
infatuated
it's skipped.
with
Let me
The
see if I can-
spelling test, we didn't have
Hasn't done
Sorry
you any
about
harm.
Another group of people and another group of people. How ironic.
We have organisations like Sainsbury's with
There we
an
go.
army of coders.
Would you remove the whip from Boris Johnson if he's found to have deliberately misled Parliament over Partygate?
I'm not making any prejudgments about that.
Why not?
Well, I'm not making prejudgments. I'll see what the committee says.
But if they say deliberately misled Parliament?
As I say, I'm not making any prejudgments.
I called 111 fairly recently. Actually, it was not fairly. It was just before COVID.
In December, I'll be in Beijing, opening up new pork markets.
Look at her face. What is wrong with this woman?
Do you take any responsibility for the lack of growth when you were a Treasury Minister?
When I was a Treasury Minister, I was in charge of public spending. I controlled public spending effectively.
The system we have at the moment, which is Soviet-style top-down housing targets.
There was once a time when our country was
At
in
least
decline.
under
I'm
Soviet-style
really worried
top-down
about
housing
how I'm going
targets,
to keep my children
everybody
warm
had a
and fed.
fucking house. We're currently in the middle of a homelessness crisis as well. Both in Ireland. I think Ireland's maybe worse. It's shocking. But at least under Soviet-style housing, everyone had a house.
This is going to cost lives if they
It's
don't
actually
do
indicative,
something
isn't it?
now.
It is actually indicative of the lack of political education of the general public, I think. That she can throw that question out as a response. There's a dog whistle in there, Soviet, right? Communism, that's bad. We know that word, that's all bad. So they throw it out to them, and they can throw it out into any sentence, and then there's no follow up. There's no challenges on it. There's no. I mean, the easy answer for me is you may well criticise Soviet-style top-down housing policy, which is easy to criticise. Don't get me wrong. I'm certainly not an apologist for the Soviet Union, although I am very open to communism. Maybe not Soviet-style communism. Certainly not Soviet-style communism. But the answer to the follow-up is you may well criticise it, Liz Truss, but at least the Soviet-style housing system delivered houses to everybody. Everybody got a house. Under this free market capitalist system, not everyone has a house. Not everyone has a home. So, and unfortunately, because the lack of in an uneducated political, when you're talking to an uneducated political public, you can say things like that and just move on, get away with it.
But this is why it's so very important that we offer support to businesses, that we...
It's not going to help her.
I've learned in particular how to shear a sheep.
The Rwanda agreement is helping people relocate elsewhere. Now, clearly that isn't their
No, but the
preference.
question is, where's the deterrent? That's the question. Can you answer that question? Where is the deterrent element in this policy if Rwanda is such a great place to go?
It's a safe place to go. It's a place with a positive future.
We have only 2 years to show the British people that we can deliver and make their lives better.
Opening up public procurement.
I had a plan in 2014 to build 200,000 new starter homes.
Here we go.
That was 5 years ago. How many did you build?
Well, there haven't been as many starter homes as we would have liked.
How many did you build?
I don't have the exact numbers for you.
Well, it's easy to remember. It's zero. You built none.
The entire resources of the Scottish Government are being used to run essentially an independence campaign.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. What's your name?
How many dictators did you tell off? Can't remember. How many houses did you build? Can't remember.
So awkward. So I think of
No
all the
dictators and
famous
no
people
fucking
from Wales,
houses, that's why.
Shirley Bassey, who I'm a huge fan of. One of my favourite songs is Goldfinger. I love the James Bond theme.
Jesus
We
fucking
will not
Christ.
be going ahead
She's so
with
bad.
the regional pay boards.
A
We will
major U-turn,
stay
then?
with national pay boards.
Is this a Liz Truss U-turn?
I'm being
No,
honest.
no,
there
you're
are
not,
parts
no.
of Wales where it's very difficult to get a mobile phone signal. It's very difficult to get broadband. It's difficult to get on a train that goes anywhere very fast.
We import 2/3 of our cheese. That is a disgrace.
The fuck
We've
is
all got to
wrong
be
with your-
prepared to try things, to have a go.
Food and farming is actually a huge success.
I want to see our fields full of crops and livestock. I don't want to see them full of solar panels.
Phasing out.
Where are they full of solar panels? Where are these mythical fields? Where are these fields? What the fuck are you talking about, you dick? And why is she getting voted for? I've had enough of her on this. It's just driving me nuts. I'm going to show you another little video of her. And this is... It's about... It's not only is it an indictment on her, it's an indictment on the Tories. It's an indictment on a particular mindset. And this is a question that she was presented with from one of the Tory hustings the other week. So check this out.
We'll be ushered into a room, very privately at number 10. Will be laid out in front of you what are called the letters of last resort.
So
your
she's being asked, would you be prepared to drop the nuclear bomb?
orders to our Trident boat captain on whether you, Prime Minister Liz Truss, is giving the order to unleash our nuclear weapons. It would mean global annihilation. I won't ask you, would you press the button? You will say yes. But faced with that task, I would feel physically sick. How does that thought make you feel?
I think it's an important duty of the Prime Minister. I'm ready to do that.
That's not what he asked you. Why are you applauding this? What is wrong with these people?
I asked how it would make you feel.
I'm ready to do it.
What is wrong with these people? I'm serious. What is fucking wrong with these people? How would it make you feel? She doesn't give an answer. Why? Because she has no emotions. Why? Because she's a psychopath. Because psychopaths don't have emotions like the rest of us. This question only started coming up, by the way, when Jeremy Corbyn was going through hustings when he was in the 2018 election. Jeremy Corbyn, that question was never asked before. That only happened with him. And now they ask it of them all. And these fucking ghouls can't wait to say, yes, I would be prepared to cause a global nuclear Armageddon. And I would do it happily. And she wasn't asked. She was asked how it would make her feel. She can't answer that question either. Do you know what I mean? And then the crowd
Duty of the
applauding
Prime
her.
Minister, I'm ready to do that.
Are you mad? Are these people insane? You have to be mental. You either have to be mental or fucking stupid that you don't understand the question. Or, in Liz's case, a fucking psycho. Demo over on YouTube says, yes, regarding the other Liz Truss video, didn't Liz Truss go to school under Tory governments? Yes, so she blamed her inability to spell or count on Labour, but her entire life it was under a Tory government. And again, Demo Truss this week said she's not a fan of economic experts. Yeah, that's right. She's not a fan of economic experts predicting the future. The Tories are not a fan of experts. Will those experts with an opposite view to their own? Of course, that's absolutely correct, because the Tories, despite saying that they're a cold, hard, the cold, hard, fact-based, they look at the evidence and they don't. They're an ideological. They're more ideological than Labour. They're more ideological than Labour. Their ideology is neoliberalism, is free market capitalism. So, but these people, man, I can't understand how you can stand on a stage and answer that question like that, and then the audience applaud her. It's fucking nuts. It's absolutely fucking nuts. And then, when you contrast that with the way Jeremy Corbyn was treated, when he said, no, I wouldn't, because I've been campaigning against nuclear weapons my entire life. They made him out to be, well, you were there. You know what they made him out to be. Unbelievable stuff. So, here's some articles from the Morning Star. I'm going to wee quick look at these. Where am I? So, activists call for a massive fight back. Liz Truss is widely expected to be declared the winner of the Tory party leadership contest, which she was today. Activists are calling for a massive fight back as a new Prime Minister steps into Downing Street tomorrow. Liz Truss is widely expected to be declared Prime Minister, which she did. In the contest, which is thought to be around 160,000 Tory members, the Foreign Secretary is expected to have won a clear victory over her rival, former Chancellor Rishi Sunak. Activists at the Burston rally in Norfolk slammed their local MP, Liz Truss. Unison Eastern Regional Convener Becky Tai called the whole process a farce. Miss Tai said, speak to anyone southwest Norfolk, they will tell you she is not a present MP. She doesn't care about her community. She's a careerist and will say anything to grab power. That's so true. That is so fucking true. She'll literally say anything to grab power. NEU National Executive Gawain Little said Truss's election will be a disaster for education and for all public services, but whatever the Tories do the job for us to organise a massive fight back, it's not going to come from the Labour Party or Westminster. We need to organise the fight back in our workplaces and communities. A Truss government is not one that is going to do anything about the cost of living crisis, and neither will it do anything to deal with the growing climate emergency we face. Former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn was joined by fellow MP Masha de Cordova at the rally. Mr Corbyn hailed the election. If Labour is going to win the next general election, we need serious opposition to this Tory government. We need serious policies like the public ownership of mail, rail and energy companies. Absolutely correct. And then something that she said on the campaign trail, where she's campaigning to become the new Prime Minister. Liz Truss said today that it is fair to prioritise tax cuts that benefit the wealthiest, claiming that a focus on policies around distribution in recent years has stalled economic growth. What the Tory leadership frontrunner defended her plans to reverse the rise in national insurance contributions, despite being told that the cut would only benefit the lowest earners by about £7, while the highest earners stand to gain up to £1,800. It's funny that, isn't it? How the axe always falls on the poor. Always falls. I remember Glenn Greenwald. He was being interviewed about, what was the issue? I can't remember exactly what the issue was, but he was stepping into the arena of media unfairness and media imbalance. And the point he made was a great one. He said, whenever the media are made to own up to what they've done wrong, what they've said wrong, the lies that they've published, printed and promoted, whenever they apologise, they always say it was a mistake. And he said, if it was a mistake, you would expect half the mistakes to fall one side of the argument, the debate, and half to fall the other. But they never do. They always fall on the workers. They always fall on the left. They always fall on anything remotely collectivist, anything remotely social, anything remotely kind. And just like this, so the rich are going to benefit by up to £1,800 from her tax cuts, and the lowest, you and me, by £7. Asked whether this was fair in an interview with BBC's Lars Koonsberg, she said, yes, it is fair. The people at the top of the income distribution pay more tax. So inevitably, when you cut taxes, you tend to benefit people who pay more tax. Of course, there are some people who don't pay tax at all. That is such a fucking stupid thing to say. That is so dumb. When you cut taxes, you tend to benefit people who are likely to pay tax. Of course, there are some people, the people at the top of it, pay more tax. So inevitably, when you cut tax, let me just get that all there. So there it is. I'm just trying to highlight it here. She said, yes, it's fair. The people at the top of the income distribution pay more tax. So inevitably, when you cut taxes, you tend to benefit people who are likely to pay a tax. Of course, there are some people who don't pay a tax at all, which is neither here nor there. They don't pay tax at all because they don't make any money. Or the people that don't pay tax at all are the people that ship all their earnings abroad. Like all the industries that she benefits, the mail, rail and the communications, oil, gas, coal, everything. Give the control of these things to hedge funds, and then they ship their profits abroad, so they don't pay any tax. That's true. There are some people that are so poor, that they don't pay any tax. So one of the things that the government does, they do things like working families tax credits. You get tax credits, so you get your wages made up. So you go and work for a massive corporation, as I do, and my wages are my hourly rate is so low that we get tax credits. So the taxpayer is supplementing my employer, paying me a shit wage, despite the fact that my employer is one of the biggest grocery companies in the country. One of the big 4 or 3, whatever it is. So how's that work? And to say this statement, the people at the top of the income distribution pay more tax, as if we can't design a tax system to not do that. We can design a tax system that ensures that this doesn't happen. So And then, as I said a moment ago, when Liz Truss was talking about becoming, what was the word she used? Becoming a beacon against authoritarianism and all this bullshit and rights. She's not talking about the rights of you and me. She's talking about the rights of companies to further exploit and profiteer. Excuse me. So here's an article from The Times. Truss eyes bonfire of workers' rights to boost the economy. This is one of the things she said on the campaign trail to become the Prime Minister. Liz Truss is preparing to shake up Britain's post-Brexit employment rights. Excuse me, sorry. As a part of her agenda to kickstart the economy before the next election. How the fuck is that going to do? The Foreign Secretary, who is expected to be confirmed as Britain's next Prime Minister on Monday, wants to review existing EU worker protections, including the 48-hour working week, in an attempt to improve competitiveness in the UK economy. Now, who do you think that's going to affect? The move will set her on a collision course with unions and risks being exploited by Labour, who will claim that a Truss-led government will reduce protections and rights on sensitive issues such as holiday entitlement pay and working conditions. I love the wording. The wording in this is fucking brilliant. The move, so she said she wants to look at EU worker protections. She's going to review those. Review means get rid of, right? Including the 48-hour working week, which you're not allowed to work any more than 48 hours. Well, you can actually. You're allowed to do that. If you choose to do it, you can do it. The move will... So, look at the wording of this. Check the wording of this out. This is brilliant. This is class journalism. Because this fucker knows what side his bread's buttered. The move will set her on a collision course with unions and risks being exploited by Labour, who will claim that a Truss-led government will reduce protections and rights on sensitive issues such as holiday entitlement pay and working conditions. So risk being exploited by Labour, who will claim that a Truss-led government will reduce protections. And in the previous paragraph it says, Liz Truss wants to review existing EU worker protections, including the 48-hour working week. They fucking said it, the previous... That's exactly what... It's not... They're not claiming that she's going to do it. She said she's going to do it. One source in the Truss camp said it would take political courage for the new Prime Minister to face down the opposition. Aye. Okay then, you fucking vampires. So there we go. Liz Truss, new Prime Minister for us all. Yay! Can't wait to see the great things that she's going to do. Absolutely shocking. Going to give a last word to Demo here. Any word on when Truss is cancelling motorway speed limits, which she promised to look at when asked the questions by some tube at a Tory hustings? Well, again, that brings us back to what one of her constituents said. She's an absent politician, and she will say anything to get elected. And that's basically where it is. Remember when the Leave campaign were arguing that exiting the EU would allow the Tories to strengthen workers' rights, as well as strengthen food standards, animal welfare, and environmental legislation? I do absolutely do remember that Demo. And isn't this again to the point? These people, there's no accountability. They will say absolutely anything to become elected, and the lack of, I think, combined with a compliant media class, an uneducated electorate, they get away with it again and again and again and again, and they're going to get away with it, and they'll continue to elect half-wits like this. Again, my theory, to repeat myself, about how we end up with these people is just simply to be a free market neoliberal capitalist. You don't need to be a politician. You don't need to be smart. In fact, it helps you not to be, because you don't have to provide any solutions, because under your ideology, it is an ideology, the market will fix all problems. So that's where we are with this. Whew. Right, so let's move on. Let's get this next wee article going here. Yeah. So I wanted to do this one. It's only a wee quick thing. So there's the wee we'll play that in between sections. It's nice that. So Zelensky, President Zelensky. Let me just tidy up my thing here. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just tidying up my my browser because it is my browser overflows. There we go. Just get this one teed up. Yeah. So we're going to talk about President Zelensky, his wife, the First Lady of Ukraine, as she is referred to as, was recently interviewed by Laura Kuenssberg of the BBC. She's like head of the political department now, I think. Yeah, like, share, subscribe. Those of you that are going to listen to this in the podcast, which will be uploaded tonight. And by the way, there's an extra couple of podcasts I upload because I forgot to upload everything from last week. So there's an extra one there. So there's 2 or 3 podcasts for you ready to go. Well, ready to listen to. So let's check this out first. President Zelensky's wife was in England, and she was interviewed by, well, a few people, but Laura Kuenssberg. Check this out.
We hear that energy is getting pricier, that life's getting pricier, but people should understand that that is not coming through the West's support to Ukraine, but through the actions of Russia.
There is no comparison to the suffering of people here. But at home in the United Kingdom, as you acknowledge, people are facing very painful choices because of the soaring cost of energy that's going to make things very tough for people. What would you say to our viewers watching at home who feel desperately sorry for what's happening to your people, but also who feel desperately worried about their own ability to pay the bills, to keep a roof over their head? What would you say to them?
Well, of course I understand the situation is very tough, but let me recall that at the time of the COVID-19 epidemic, and it's still with us, when there were price hikes, Ukraine is affected as well. The prices are going up in Ukraine as well. But in addition, our people get killed. So when you start counting pennies on your bank account or in your pocket, we do the same and count our casualties. These days, a woman was killed walking in a park in Kharkiv. Many people were injured. If the support is strong, this period will be shorter.
Fuck you, for a start. Fuck her. I get it. Listen, people are dying in Ukraine in vast numbers, and it's awful. Again, working class people. Russians as well. You know my stance on this whole thing. It was avoidable. It shouldn't have happened. Russia obviously has invaded another country, and that's wrong too. But these things don't exist in a vacuum. There was extenuating circumstances as to why that happened. Whether you think they were right or wrong is your decision. I personally think that my position is the Ukrainian people are being used by the West to fight a proxy war against Russia. There was an agreement in place under the Minsk treaties that should have been implemented. President Zelensky ran on those when he ran for election, ran on as a peace candidate, and didn't implement the Minsk Accords. And that's what should have happened. It would have kept the Donetsk and the other regions within Ukraine, but they would have been autonomous, sort of like regional. They had their own regional parliament. But instead, the Ukraine has been training itself to become a NATO country, which is a red line for Russia. Don't believe me? Here's a video from
to step up support for Ukraine.
Stoltenberg.
As you know, NATO allies provide unprecedented level of military support to Ukraine. Actually, NATO allies and NATO have been there since 2014, trained, equipped, and support.
NATO and NATO allies have been in Ukraine since 2014, I would say before, but he's admitting that now. Ukraine is the red line for Russia. You can't do this. Whenever the Soviet Union collapsed, they said no eastward expansion towards Moscow. Since then, there's been 15 countries, I think, and ours at 15, including Finland and Sweden. They're now talking about joining. I think it looks like they're going to do that. And the only country left is of any significance is Ukraine. Russia can't have Ukraine. Russia has been invaded through Ukraine 3 times, once by Napoleon, once by the Kaiser, and once by the Nazis. And each time has cost millions and millions of Russian lives.
The Ukrainian armed forces, but of course since the invasion in February, allies have stepped up significantly, and we also agreed a comprehensive assistance package also on how to help Ukraine to move from Soviet-era equipment to more modern NATO standard equipment.
So there's Stoltenberg admitting that
we hear that
NATO has been in Ukraine. As someone else says, Ukraine may not have been in NATO, but NATO was in Ukraine. This war was completely avoidable, and then this fucker. And my sympathy lies with the people of Ukraine, not with ghouls like this. I believe that it's going to come out in the wash exactly what these people are and what they've done. This was avoidable. This didn't need to happen. And the Ukrainian people's blood are on their hands. Again, Russia is obviously responsible for that as well. But the collective responsibility in that collective, she's in there and her husband's in there. And that they would come and lecture the people of the United Kingdom who are facing a winter of horror. I'm going to get into it. It's no fucking joke. Liz Truss has been elected the Prime Minister. What is she going to do? Nothing. Nothing. I'm going to show you something in a minute about the type of bills that people are getting already. And I get what she's saying. The people of Ukraine are not only worried about the cost of heating their homes as well, and they're also fighting a war, and there's that. That's true, but that's not my fault. That's your fault. You designed this. You went along with this. Why the fuck should I be worried? I'm literally getting work done in my house to try and mitigate the worst of the excesses of the winter fuel bills that are going to be hitting us. And in order for you to fight a proxy war for the United States, in order to be a slush fund for the military-industrial complex, and also to stop to be a pain and a thorn in the side of Russia, I don't know if I'm going to be able to heat my house in the winter. Why should I have to? What's it got to do with me? It's your issue. It's not that we don't want to help. It's not that we're not charitable. It's not that we don't feel sympathy. But why the fuck are you making excuses for things like?
I'm a Margaret Thatcher.
Sorry, not that. Things like this. Oh, where is it? Oh yeah. So here's an article from Bloomberg of all things. You know, we're not talking about this is not the Morning Star. Sorry, let me just get rid of that there. UK sees up to £170 billion of excess profits for energy firms. Estimates over the next 2 years show a potential of a windfall tax. Winter energy bills set to rocket to triple the levels of last year. So if that's going to be the case for me, We have an oil tank. Home heating oil is what we use. And I think we put about, over the winter, you turn it off in May or April or May when it starts to get warm, you don't put it on. We still haven't put it on because it's very nice. The weather's pleasant. But our energy bills were something like 1,200 quid. So according to this, they're going to triple domestically. I don't have £3,500 to put in an oil tank. Don't have it. UK gas producers and electricity generators may make excess profits totalling as much as £170 billion over the next 2 years, according to Treasury estimates that lay bare the revenue raising potential of a windfall tax. They won't do a windfall tax. Excess profits are defined by the Treasury as the difference between the profits energy producers are predicted to make in future and the profits they could have expected to make, based on the outlook for prices before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Truss's opposition. Truss has repeatedly said she is opposed to windfall taxes, arguing that they send the wrong message to investors. Played you a video about this the other week. She says profit is not a bad word. No one's saying profit is a bad word. Liz, again, another obfuscation, another example of where she fucking gets asked the question, doesn't answer it, and the fucking journalist asking her the fucking question just moves on. She has also so far refused to set out how she would help families and businesses struggling with soaring energy costs, arguing that she needs to see the figures from the Treasury once she takes office. She can see these figures anytime she wants. There's no plan here. This plan is going to be minimal at best. Whatever she does, we're still going to be paying through the nose. Let me just pull up another. So my point in bringing that article up is to show you Mrs. Zelensky there saying that the people in the UK complaining they're counting the pennies in their pocket. They're not counting the pennies in their pocket because they're cruel. They're not counting the pennies in their pocket because they're uncharitable or because they're mean and they're villainous. They're counting the pennies in their pocket because they're genuinely worried that they're not going to be able to heat their homes in the winter, which, although not the coldest part of the world, it gets fucking cold. If you don't heat your house, it's ice. You'll get ice on the inside. That's how bad, right? So that's and in those circumstances, people will die. So that's what we're talking about here. And I resent that. That was a fucking cheeky bitch. How dare she? How dare she come and lecture and wave a finger at us? They could have avoided this war. This war was not necessary. It'll all come out in the wash. I'm convinced of it. This was avoidable. Very avoidable. If Ukraine wants to allow itself to be played into a proxy war, to be a cat's paw for the United States and its hegemonic tendencies and its hegemonic ambitions, well, that's up to the Ukraine. That's up to Ukraine and the people of Ukraine. That's up to them. They have to deal with the consequences of that. Why the fuck should I? It's got nothing to do with me. And again, I do have sympathy, but my sympathy is for the working people that are fucking suffering, that are dying. And that's where my sympathy lies, not with these fucking ghouls. And again, my position is the leadership of the European Union and their fucking complicity in going ahead with supporting. They've shown themselves to be nothing but a client state of the United States. That's it. They cut off 20 to 40% of their own gas supply without having a ready alternative in place. I can't believe they did that. And now it's the working class people again that are going to be paying the price of these decisions of these fucking so-called leaders. Absolutely heartbreaking. So, yeah. So there we go.
We hear that energy is getting pricier, that lives...
Oh, yeah. we hear that energy's getting pricier, that like, fuck off. Just fuck off. Done with you. Go away. That's that done. We're going to move on. So, what have I got? Oh yeah. Yeah. So, we've got one more thing for you. It's about the cost of living. Oh yeah. So I didn't show. Well, I could show you this as a part of this as well. So, now this is interesting. So Bernie Sanders was in England recently, just last week. So Bernie Sanders is an American, as you know, we know who he is, right? He was in at the RMT conference. RMT his profile has risen in the UK recently, obviously because of people like Mick Lynch and Eddie Dempsey. The railway workers going on strike, and they're leading a new campaign called Enough is Enough. Along with Dave Ward from the Communications Workers Union. So that's why the post office was on strike, because of those guys, right? So so check this out. So here's Mick Lynch being interviewed on Joe. Check this out. Oh. Is it? Oh. So, oh, okay. Damo has told me here that the volume on the Mick Lynch video isn't good, so I'm gonna pump that up a wee bit. It's very loud in my earphones, but I'll blast it here just to see if it makes any difference. We'll go from the start again, alright? Very faint, he says, okay.
Mick Lynch, first things first, what's the latest in the dispute? Well, the latest in the underground Transport for London dispute is that the Mayor has done a deal.
Any better?
With grant chaps effectively in the Treasury. And in order to bridge the gap in the finances, he's put our members' pensions up for grabs, along with their conditions and possibly their pay deal going forward. So there's a big funding gap, and it's going to be paid for by our people. So we will still be in dispute, and we will consider from now what further action we need to take alongside the National Rail dispute, which is on very similar lines.
2 years or so, we've seen multiple sort of emergency finance deals, bailouts, or whatever you want to call them for TfL. What do you think the long-term solution is to the funding issue they're seeing?
Well, we need a long-term settlement. This is a 19-month settlement, which is very short. You'd expect these things to be in 5 years.
Yeah, got it, mate. It's okay. Sorry, Damo, you're right. It was low. That was my fault. I had the wrong setting. So sorry, people listening to this. Third
Mick
time's a
Lynch,
charm.
first things first, what's the latest
That should
in
be
the
it
dispute?
now.
Well, the latest in the underground Transport for London dispute is that the Mayor has done a deal with grant chaps effectively in the Treasury. And in order to bridge the gap in the finances, he's put our members' pensions up for grabs, along with their conditions and possibly their pay deal going forward. So there's a big funding gap, and it's going to be paid for by our people. So we will still be in dispute, and we will consider from now what further action we need to take alongside the National Rail dispute, which is on very similar lines.
Over the last sort of 2 years or so, we've seen multiple sort of emergency finance deals, bailouts, or whatever you want to call them for TfL. What do you think the long-term solution is to the funding issue that they're seeing?
Well, we need a long-term settlement. This is a 19-month settlement, which is very short. You'd expect these things to be in 5-year or maybe even 10-year blocks so that you can plan for the future of what is a global city. We're the only city in the world of this size that doesn't have an operational subsidy, so that we can run the services and run the commitments in order to keep the country going and keep the city going. That doesn't exist. The Tories say it has to run at level par, where everything's got to be paid for through the fare box, and that's either by the taxpayers of London, the ratepayers, or via fares going up. So that simply can't work in a big city. It's not the same. It's not like that in Paris or New York or any other city you care to name. So we need an operational grant that's properly subsidised, and Mayor Khan should be fighting for that. And I hope he will do in the future. We need a political campaign for that to exist.
Bernie Sanders has crossed the Atlantic to come and show his solidarity with the RMT, the other unions that are here today. It's quite a striking contrast with Keir Starmer, who's yet to show up on the picket line. What's your view of Bernie being here today and the contrast with Keir?
Well, it's great. Bernie Sanders has come across from America, and Keir Starmer, the leader of Labour, isn't showing up on picket lines. In fact, at the beginning of all of this, he was sacking ministers and sacking ministers from his own cabinet, his own shadow cabinet, for lending support to the strikes.
Great to have Bernie Sanders here. He's reached out to us. We put this meeting on and had to upscale it a bit, if I'm honest with you, because Bernie said, I want to be with you. I want to show my solidarity. Of course, all these issues occur in different detail, but in every society in the world probably, and Bernie's campaigning for trade union organisation, for a square deal for workers all over the states. And we're seeing that arise with the Amazon workers, even the Starbucks workers, but lots of other trade union uprisings, if you like, and he's supporting all of those. So he's got a trip to London and he wanted to reach out and support us. We're delighted that he's here. I'm looking forward to hearing from him, and I'm sure that the crowd here tonight will be delighted as well.
My question was about the difference between him and Keir Starmer. Are you expecting Keir Starmer to do the same and come and show solidarity with you on the picket line? Well,
we'll be with Keir Starmer at the TUC. I'll be at the Labour Party, even though I'm not allowed in. Keir Starmer's welcome. If he wants to shift his party position and his front bench's position to be more in line with where the trade unions are and more where workers' needs are, that will be a great development in this situation. So he's welcome. We can have a dialogue and we can discuss each other's needs.
It's looking increasingly likely that Liz Truss is going to be the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Do you think it will be easier for you to settle the rail workers' dispute with her as the Prime Minister as it has been with Boris Johnson?
I've no idea. I don't know where Boris Johnson is. He's not been in touch lately. I know where Grant Shapps is. He's in a bunker in Welwyn Garden City or wherever he is. He doesn't come out to play either. It would be better if we had a round table and discussed all the issues. But look, we've got to deal with whoever's sitting at the table. The companies will take their mandate off the new Department for Transport, backed up by the Treasury, ultimately backed up by Liz Truss. I'm on record as saying I think she's a bit of an extremist. I hope she proves me wrong and brings peace and joy all around the economy, but I can't see that happening. So I think workers have got to be on their mark and ready to go with campaigns right across this country to get a square deal.
A broader question for you, my final question. Some people have suggested that strike action is not the answer to the problems that working class people face, or the problem that working class people face in the cost of living crisis. Do you agree with them?
Well, the answer is negotiated settlements and getting deals that people can stick to. But one of the ways you get there, and one of the ways you apply the pressure and rebalance the equation in the workplace, is through organisation. And sometimes you have to take strike action. And if you're afraid to take it, or if you never take it, you're going to find yourself on the back foot. So the bosses and the government and the powers that be need to know that there's an assertive trade union movement prepared to back up their demands with effective industrial action that motivates a broad spectrum of working people in our economy, in our society. So it's a vital weapon and a vital tool of the trade union movement.
It's the only tool we have as working class people, to withdraw our labour. That's a part of the fundamental understandings that we must have as socialists or leftists. And if you're not a socialist or leftist or a Marxist as I am, even if you're just a working class person who doesn't want to get involved in politics, who doesn't see themselves as left or right or has some sort of an issue with identifying as that, you must acknowledge that the only thing that you have, whenever you're left to the machinations of the market and to the whims of your bosses, everything goes down. Workers' rights go down. Your wages goes down. The amount of time you have to spend at work goes down. The amount of time you get to spend with your family goes down. The amount of time you get to do the things that you love to do goes down. And then the less money you have to do those things with, it goes down as it goes down. So the only thing that we have is our ability to withdraw our labour.
Where does the Enough is Enough campaign fit into that?
Well, they're part of a number of campaigns that are springing up. We're hearing campaigns all over the place, from very local ones about libraries, nurseries, to big national ones like Enough is Enough. I think it all fits together. We don't want any division or sectarianism. There's the People's Assembly against austerity. There are other campaigns that will spring up. We think it's a broad church. We can all work together. There'll be different details and different aspects, but there's no need for us to fall out on that. Let's all work together and get a real movement that achieves concrete outcomes for our people.
Cheers, Mick. Thank you very much.
Very good. All right. Good man.
Mick's good. I like Mick. I like him a lot. And Eddie Dempsey as well, and Dave Ward. And we need more militant, stronger leaders to come out of our communities, because we don't have them on a political level. Not enough. Certainly not at national level. And a few good ones at home here. There are a few good ones in England as well, but not too many, and not enough by far. And we need these union leaders to... If they're going to be the ones to do it, I think it would be great if it would be great if they do. It would be great if they do, and I'm a big fan. So here's a little bit of Bernie's speech from the RMT. So this was what you go and check these guys out. By the way, Joe Politics is on. They're on everything. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Do great videos. They're fucking brilliant. They're good guys. They're on the right side of this for you and me as working class people, whereas there's not too many. As we know, our media landscape has been consumed by billionaires and the oligarchy. Hence the messaging. If you look back at the podcast I did from last week, I get into that last week. I play a video of what happens whenever these companies buy up all the media space, and they all start pumping out the same messaging. So you should check it out from last week. So here's a video from Bernie Sanders. It's only a minute. Some highlights from his speech. Got a standing ovation. It was a great speech. Bernie's good. He's a good talker. You know, he's a rabble rouser. You need those. Unlike Liz Truss, Demo says she got her skills from a speak your weight machine. This is the new Prime Minister of the country. It's so funny. I just find it hilarious. But then whenever you think about how dangerous it is, all of a sudden, yeah, it loses its humour. So here, check out this little speech from Bernie. If it doesn't start at the beginning, I'll just double check, because I might have done the same thing with this as I did with Mix.
US Senator Bernie Sanders joined striking British workers at a trade union rally in London. He says workers need to stand together to fight back at what he calls corporate greed and billionaires amassing wealth.
That it makes any sense at all. No one can tell me from a moral perspective, or in fact from an economic perspective, that it makes any sense at all that so few have so much and so many have so little.
And that's the thing. So think about this. This is the thing that I was talking. Well, I had to go on a wee drive today to go and get something. My wife came with me, and as she is, I'm sure she was hoping it wouldn't end up with a political lecture, but I went off on one a wee bit, and she's exposed to those far too often, and so I do apologise to Jeannie for these. But when Bernie's here saying it doesn't make sense from a moral or an economic perspective. So the moral, we know these companies are just profiteering. Excuse me. We know that. They should be put in the stocks. The stocks should be brought back loud and clear. Thank you, Damo. Appreciate it, brother. These people should be put in stocks. If it was at a time, apparently, there's a time of war, this Ukraine-Russia thing. Apparently it's a war. We're not involved in it, but we're being affected by it, despite the fact that I'll show you in a moment the excess profits that have been made by these companies. So that's the morality of it. But it doesn't make any sense from it economically. I'm going to show you in a minute again another bill from a local company here, actually in my manor, my parish. It doesn't make any sense economically because these businesses are going to close down. If they get these massive bills every month, they're not going to be. It's not that they won't pay them; they cannot pay them. They will not be able to pay them. In the UK, one of the campaigns that Mick Lynch was talking about there, he's at the head, one of the leaders of the Enough is Enough campaign. One of the other campaigns is a campaign called, oh God, what is it called? Don't Pay or something like that. Basically, don't pay your energy bill as a form of protest. Now, there's going to be a de facto default on paying these bills anyway, because people aren't going to be able to pay them. You follow me? So, if you're going from £1,000 a year to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, or as it's projected to go up to 8,000, you're not going to be able to pay that. You're not going to be able to pay it. So where's the financial sense in that? If you're a part of a business that paid £1,500 last month, and then this £4,000 last month for your energy, and this month it's 10,000. I'll show you that bill in a second. How you can't do that? So you're going to close down. Where's the economic sense of this? We know the morality's fucked, but where's the economic sense in this? It doesn't make any sense. So this is why we have politicians, in order to make these decisions. I mean, these are basic decisions that any this shouldn't even be a left-right issue, but it fucking is. The left is saying we need to nationalise these companies. First of all, to get them under control, and then we can run the services better for a start. Then there's also the morality of it. Of the evil, the cruelty that's being carried out. Sorry, I'll get back. I just want to make that point. Back to Bernie.
What we have seen is a massive distribution of wealth going in exactly the wrong way. The middle class is shrinking and the people on top are getting wealthy. Our job is to take on these oligarchs, and our job is to imagine a world of justice. It is not radical. It is not radical to say that every worker in the UK and in the United States is entitled to a decent standard of living. That's not a radical idea.
Well, he was speaking at an event hosted by the RMT union, which has played an important...
So there we go. It's not radical. Is it radical to expect... Is it radical to expect that you go to work for 38, 40 hours a week? Demo says, you only listen to your podcast, Andy, to give your missus a well-earned break from your political ravings. Brilliant. She'll thank you for that. She really will. I don't do it that often anymore. One of these podcasts help. It creates a little bit more, a bit of a healthier home life for me. I'm able to get it off my chest here. Fair play to you, Demo. That's a cracker. I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, you fucking made me forget. Now I'm going to remember later on. Then I'm going to take it out to my wife. No, but yeah. So anyway, so we'll back to the video.
In recent strikes in the UK, protesting workers are demanding better pay and conditions to counter the impact of soaring
energy. It was Bernie's point, wasn't it? it is not radical. It is not radical to expect for a working man or woman to go out and work 40 hours a week to be able to keep a household on it. We know that we can do it because the excess profits, we understand basic Marxism and basic socialism. The excess profits, they're there. The profits are there, but they're going somewhere else. Now, these profits are immoral. Again, back to Bernie's point, the morality. These profits are immoral because they're artificially inflated based on the greed of a few CEOs and corporate executives. Right? So I say, nationalise a lot of them. Taste them. People say, well, it costs a lot of money to nationalise them. Well, maybe not. Hear me out. I say nationalise a lot of them. Get them away to fuck. Don't give them a fucking penny. Now, traditionally, whenever you nationalise them, the government will say, we'll name a price and that's it, and off you go. And that's what you're getting. And there's a lot of complaining done, but usually that's the way it goes. I say don't give them a fucking shilling because of this. I mean, not even before this, it shouldn't have gotten any. I would have made the same argument, but this is definitely the one. This is the one. Say, right, no, fuck off. You're not getting any more. You've got enough. You've got more from your initial investment. You've made a profit. You've made enough profit, and you've made it on the backs and sweat of the workers. And looking forward into our future, into the driving the fear of God. And our disabled and our elderly. I heard, here's one there the other day. I heard, can you imagine if you're an infirmed person, and there are many infirm people that are restricted to their homes. They can't leave their homes, breathing or mobility issues. But there are people connected to machines. They need those machines kept on all the time. Make no mistake about it. Those people are not going to be able to pay the electricity to keep the heating on in their houses, or keep the electricity on in their houses. Those machines are going to go off. Meanwhile, Liz Truss and the likes of her have got no solutions. She's saying once she becomes PM, she's going to look at the solutions. Now, she's able to go out there and say that she's prepared to blow the fucking planet to smithereens before she's the PM. She's prepared to do that. She knows that, so she's good with that. She knows she wants to do tax cuts for the rich. So she knows that before she goes into office. She knows she wants to have a bonfire of workers' rights. So she knows that before she goes into the highest office in the land. But she cannot come up with a plan before she goes into office with the biggest crises in the country at the minute. She can't do that one. She can't fix that before she goes into office. She can't announce a plan for that, but she can for all them other things. She's going to do nothing. I am genuinely concerned. I mean, we're going to be fine. We're going to be, you too probably, but there are many who are not. And I don't know what the future, I don't know what this winter's going to look like. But and again, when you talk with Mrs. Zelensky there, no, fuck her, fuck off. Coming and lecturing about a war that was avoidable. We're counting our pennies. There are people counting their pennies because they're afraid they're going to die. So that was good. It was good to see Bernie there, but it shows you how serious it is. Now, I could have showed you this page here as a part of the last article, the last story, but this one is it's from The Guardian. Which energy firms met Boris Johnson and how big are their profits? So here's this is very interesting. E.ON profits £3.4 billion in the first half of 2022. 3.4 billion. National Grid profits 3.4 billion 21 to 22. RWE 2.2 billion first half of 22, and the rest of them are all similar. 1.7 billion, 1.3 SSE, 1.2 Scottish Power, 925 million, which is almost $1 billion. Drax, 225 million, $250 million. EDF, 4.5 billion loss. Well, that doesn't make any sense, but that's what it says. So there you go. So there's that, and just on the Bernie visiting. Oh yeah, I'm gonna show you this. So I told you I was going to show you a bill from. So check that out on screen. So those of you listening to this podcast, this is it was on, I think it was on Twitter or something like that, or maybe Facebook, whatever. Somebody put it up. It's number 7 Rushmere. That's a restaurant out the road from me, out at Craigavon Shopping Centre. It's a few miles away. Again, in my parish. And they've feeling annoyed. I don't know. I think that looks like a Twitter post. I'm not sure. How are we supposed to get through the winter when our summer electric bill for 1 month is over 9,000? So there's their bill. That's insane. This bill. So they've gone up. I'm trying to read this to make sense of it, but I really can't. I'm not good at these things. It doesn't say normally twice as much for the. See, I didn't see the whole post. Oh, I know what to do. There we go. Buy a kettle. Easy solution. So there is the post from Reddit, Northern Ireland. Somebody says here's me clicking like to see more like a knob, not knowing it's a screenshot. Listen, mate, I did exactly the same fucking thing. Some other dude says, I honestly think we would need a revolution. Pull the bastards into the street. I agree. I do genuinely agree with that. I'm not a violent one. I don't mean to be violent, but are they committing violence on us? I say they are. They're doing violence to us. So there's violence. You can't complain when you do this. This is violence. This is violence. Yeah, no, I didn't see the whole. So here it is. This is the one that I'm looking. I'm looking for someone to explain how this person's bill works. So the bill without adjust is 3.1k. With is over 7k. It's over 100% increase in a single monthly billing period. I don't think that war has much to do with prices anymore. Market is not controlled. Wholesale booming. See prices of liquid gas brought in from the USA. Price increases 8-fold from $8 in the States to $60 in Europe. It's a robbery. French, Swiss and Dutch wholesalers swim in gold. Americans can't complain either. To make it even more interesting, the French block imports of gas from Algeria because that's bad for their eco-nuclear business, etc., etc. So that's the breakdown. So the normal bill is 3.1 without it. Then it's basically doubled. Their bill has doubled in that time. Isn't that shocking? That's insane. That's going to get worse. Apparently for domestic or for commercial businesses, commercial peoples, commercial customers, it's going to get worse. So there we go. This is and like listen, we'll call this a couple of articles there. I'll just go a quick headline. Another one, all connected, of course. From the Morning Star, Mick Lynch and Jeremy Corbyn join activists celebrating the longest strike in history. The longest strike in history was celebrated by hundreds of activists on the church green in the Norfolk town of Burston today. I didn't know that. In the spring of 1914, the pupils of Burston Village School walked out in protest at the sacking of their teachers, Tom and Kitty Higdon. The two teachers were being punished by the local gentry and church authorities for Tom's trade union and socialist views. Oh, I didn't know about this. The strike and subsequent boycott lasted for 25 years, and since 1984 the commemoration has been an annual event. Opening the rally, the Unite Union Assistant General Secretary Diana Holland called on activists to remember that solidarity was the principle that held the strikers together, and we can draw inspiration from it today. Abso-fucking-lutely. See, this is the thing. It's easy for us to forget because the source of most of our woes, as I see them anyway, on this island, come from England. Sadly, it's very easy to forget. England has a radical, capitalism was invented in England, more or less, Holland, England, that sort of thing. So was socialism, along, not just completely, but England was radical. The Magna Carta, all these things, these are forward-looking, progressive ideas that were considered radical at the time. And Mr. Corbyn added, the radical history of this country goes back to the Peasants' Revolt, it goes back to the English Civil War, it goes back to the Levellers and the Diggers and the Chartists, and of course the farm workers at Tulpuddle and much more, the Tulpuddle martyrs. Our struggle as a movement goes back to the struggles of rural England. And this is the point. This is what we need to remember. This is what we need to remember. Together. These ghouls are in charge of, well, us here in the north, but in Ireland as well, and certainly in England. They're traitors. I think they're traitors. They need to be thought of as such. And here's a great article from Owen Jones in The Guardian. Have I got that on screen? Yeah. People are tired of being ignored while the rich gets richer. Bernie Sanders. The Vermont senator rose from the political margins to become heavily influential within the American left. I'll maybe save that for, because it's very long. So I'll save that for the next one. I'll pull the important bits out of that and give a wee breakdown of that article. I'd like to do a bit more specifically on Bernie coming, because it is rather significant, and it is indicative of the lie of the land. So there we go. Listen, thanks everybody. Damo joined me on the YouTube. There was a few others in there that didn't speak up anything, but Damo says here, you're welcome for the therapy sessions. Ha ha ha. Absolutely. If only Liz Truss had a morals advisor, but she's already trying to jettison her ethics advisor. That's true, yes, because according to her, she knows the difference between right and wrong, like Joe Lycett. I'm reassured. The business owner of that restaurant also owns a bar facing similar sky-high energy costs. He has approximately 75 employees and is concerned about whether they'll have jobs in the near future. There you go. Yeah, there you go, Damo. Didn't know that. That's why you're here, brother. And that's the point as well. I think the high street is going to be decimated this winter all over the United Kingdom and Ireland, because as bad as it is for domestic rates, the way it works, it's going to be much worse for business. The business rates is going to be much higher. And then I saw another one from it's the same in the south of Ireland. There's another one, I saw a little bill, very similar post to someone said they got a €10,000 bill, and they're saying we're a small coffee shop in like Castlebar or Mayo or somewhere like that. This doesn't make any sense. So this is what we're dealing with. And faced with that, if you know that that's what you have to deal with, you're going to preemptively shut down, aren't you? Think about it. That's what you're going to do. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think these companies are going to get 2 or 3 of these, and that's it. They're going to wait for Liz Truss to come in to see if she actually does anything. I don't think she's going to do anything. If she does, it'll not be enough. And they're going to say, right, we're going to have to go. As Damo points out, 75 people unemployed. And where are they going to go? They can't go and get another job in another restaurant, because all the restaurants are going to close down because no one can afford this. Again, back to the moral and the economic fucking practicality. It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand what this is all about. It's obvious that this is what's going to happen. These things are going to... It's just beyond belief. So there we go. Listen. There we go. Done. Thanks, Damo, for joining me, brother. Really appreciate it, as always. And hopefully I'll be back on the Twitter in the near future. I'm kind of a wee bit baffled about what's going on there. Me and Chris, the Bonnevilles, we're going on tour soon. We're doing a Scandinavian tour in October. We played a great festival at the weekend there. I'll talk to you more about that in the next one. And yeah, we're all good. So that's me. All right. Good night. Happy Monday.